Sorry about that. That was amazing, right? Right when I went live, my phone lit up. Oh my God. Okay, here we are. Welcome. I hope you guys like the intro music. I'll be trying to change it up from time to time as we get started. I've got a few themes I want to try as we get going here, but that a girl, Miss Redhead, I'm glad you did. It was a good intro. So here we are together in chat. Here we are getting started. It's been quite a week. I'll get going with announcements while people are coming in, and maybe that will launch some things. I wanted to tell you guys, I looked into Rife technology, and I now completely understand. I actually really do understand that technology, and I would love to explain it to you guys. So keep that in mind. If you want me to explain it to you, I can explain it to you. And yeah, we can have some fun with that. And I can talk about the current Rife machines that they have available. Now, let's see here. Why is that not showing? Remove, add to stage. There we are. Here we are. I'll keep the questions up because we're just getting going. I'm just talking about light stuff right now. So I forgot to mention something at the final Cassiopaean presentation last week, but it was this volcano, and it was just this side note that I picked up on when I was in my research, and I'm so bummed I didn't mention it. But check this out. I'll have to close these for a minute, but one of the last volcanoes to be active in the Azores archipelago from this age. Are you ready for this? Look where it says here. It emerged about 300,000 years ago. And the Cassiopaeans claim that we've been in this wave deal for 300,000 years. We're moving in on 309,000 years apparently. And I thought it was just so interesting that was the case. I wanted to show you guys that. That was just kind of a side note thing I wanted to mention. And then I also wanted to say, hey, Scooter, what's going on? Hey, Friar Tech, what is happening? Hi, April Kitten. Nice to see you. Oh, nice. You speak French. Nice. Outstanding. Hey, what's going on, Gretchen? It's good to see you. We hit 70,000 subs on my other channel, which is incredible, guys. If we ever do get to 100,000, I will actually get a plaque. They send you a plaque if we ever get there. I don't know if we'll ever get there. But we're actually at 70,000, which is awesome, which is absolutely awesome. So thanks, guys. Thanks for getting us there. Now, some announcements, and then I will get to questions, and then we'll talk about Rife technology if you guys want to. But I just wanted to say, first of all, thanks to everybody who has been donating and giving to the cause. I appreciate it very much. Every dollar counts. Thank you so much for your donations and gifts. Secondly, as I want to kind of talk about with you right now, nature creature is growing. Adjustments have to be made on both the family and my part. Let's be patient and work with one another for the better good of everyone. Emails are arriving, and I just want to say this about that. So we are growing, and actually we had about a 300 subscriber jump over the last week between this last Saturday and the Saturday before, which put us over 70,000. Now, it's great to grow. We all love to grow, and we're all happy that more people are being exposed to what we do here and are familiarizing themselves with sort of the nature creature ethos, which is a healing ethos. Oh, and by the way, we went to 23. In case I guess it's over there because everything's backwards. But we went to 23. So, shoot, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So we are growing. And because we are growing, that means that not only are we bringing in, awesome people that are going to contribute, but we're also bringing in folks that are not going to be so happy with sort of the way that I do things here. Just the way things are and what I talk about. I am a true iconoclast. I love being an iconoclast. And so that is not for the person who isn't ready for that kind of heat. It's sort of like some people like really hot soup and some people just like lukewarm soup. Everybody's different. And I'm kind of on the boiling side. And so it takes a special kind of person, a person who's ready to hear new things, a person who's ready to hear new challenges and critiques, often critiques, of what maybe is currently subscribed. And so as we continue down this road, we're going to attract people who are really tied into, say, certain religions or a religion, tied into certain medical or governmental systems, or maybe they're a historian or are really tied into the collegiate ranks and how they view the world history and how we came about, evolution and so forth. And so inevitably, with an iconoclast, eventually, I'm going to say something that's not going to rub well with you. It's not going to go over well, and it's going to be controversial, and you won't like it. Eventually, that's going to happen if you hang out with me long enough. Probably the vast majority of stuff I say, since it's humane and human-oriented, probably the vast majority of it is pretty palatable. But when it comes to some of the finer details, and when I start stepping into puddles that are a little bit off or you don't quite see the depth there, I sometimes can say things that are really exposing and at the same time convicting. And if that is your ontology about which you constellate your life, there is an immediate lashing out. And so I say all that to say, in our chat room, we have a very active chat room, very loving chat room, and we have a lot of people that have a lot of life experience. They bring a lot of spiritual knowledge to the table that they have really spent a lot of time studying and working through. I'll put this back on here again. That they have been studying and working through. And because of that, they're really tied into a particular way of seeing the world. And to them, it's clear as day. It makes complete sense. And it doesn't make sense to them at all that anyone would think differently. And often a person who sort of hasn't been around long enough or hasn't experienced or gone into enough religions, enough belief systems, enough science and history, if they haven't done enough in that world and really diving into many different subjects, they won't have the ground to stand on when it comes to backing up their claims. And things can get really, really nasty when someone isn't able to defend themselves in a way that clarifies the situation. And then misunderstanding begins to happen. And then people get offended. And then before you know it, you have people cursing each other out in the chat room when 1 minute ago it was, great. And I am a lightning rod. You need to understand this. I am a lightning rod for that. That's been one of the amazing aspects of the chat room, is that it's remained as family and kind oriented as you could imagine, talking about these very volatile subjects that are coming to the surface here in the Great Awakening. So I say all this to say, I ask for your patience. I ask for your long suffering. I ask for your temperance. I ask you to hold your tongue if you start to feel it welling up and you want to really let someone have it that deserves it, that said something that offended you and wasn't right, and so on and so forth. We're going to have to maintain a semblance here. We're going to have to maintain an environment that feels safe to others. And so, yes, my moderators will mute you if there is volatile stuff happening and they sense a fight beginning to happen. And it's just their way of calming things down before things get out of hand. My moderators have a lot of experience. They've been doing this a long time. Most of my mods are veterans. And I can say all of my mods are veterans of Nature Creature. They're not moderator veterans in Nature Creature, but they've been with Nature Creature for a very long time. So these are seasoned people that have a very similar, nonplussed, calm approach to life, which obviously we're human. Every once in a while that slips. But overall, my mods are very regular, even-tempered, mild people. They're not racist. They're not crazy. They're not loony. They're not woke. They're not any of those things that typically light the field. They're very sorry, the word slips my mind. They're very temperate when it comes to being in a group situation and seeing something unfold. So please be patient and please work with us as we grow. It's only going to get more intense. There's only going to be more people coming. We're making changes to how my videos are presented. We're making adjustments to try and get this word out a further distance. So just please be patient and work with us and be a part of this family, all of us, conducive to being kind and letting others speak, and obviously not being ugly. Okay, enough of that. To the next announcement. Okay, Zoom time this month, in case you didn't know, if you are a member, you are welcome to go to Zoom. Zoom time is at 11 a.m. in August this month. Due to a family tragedy I'm going through, there's no other option, so obviously my apologies. So I think most people know that. The third annual Nature Creature Festival, to make sure people that didn't hear this on Saturday hear it now, is on July 17 to 18. Please set your calendars. It's in 2027, obviously. And what we'll be doing on the 17th is sightseeing on Mount Baker. And then that evening, I'll have a presentation, obviously. Probably develop some kind of lecture this time and have some better facilities, we're hoping. And then the next day, on the 18th, we'll be going for a long hike, probably something on the order of 3 to 5 miles. And it will be stunning. It will be stunning. I'm going to walk us on, I think it's called Twin Lakes Trail. and it walks around the side of Table Mountain, and Table Mountain on the, what would that be, west side, I think it's the west side, northwest side, is a big open base of the Cascades view. It looks like like you're looking over the Himalayas, all kinds of peaks. It's breathtaking, and it's, you know, a mile and a half off the beaten trail, and we'll be on that trail, meaning the beaten path. We'll be on a trail from the main road. They're on the 18th for a few hours. It will be beautiful. So set your calendars. We'd love to have you here. Lots of camping available. Okay, so a new announcement in the video section. Okay, so I made a video in the last 12 hours, believe it or not, making announcements for a new gig I'm going to be trying to do. What's the word for it? A new option that I'm offering to just members of Nature Creature. So if you're a member of Nature Creature, please go check out the video. It's something I'm trying out. I'm at a place in life and a time in life when it's an option. I don't know how long it's going to last, but as long as it's around, I want to give it a shot. So yeah, we will get to tonight's question. Sorry. And then we're going to finish our Way of Zen study this Saturday. And August 22nd, we'll begin a 2 to 3 week study of the Great Awakening with Young, Watts, and McKenna. Let's go to your questions. Do you guys want to talk about Rife? Do you guys want to talk about Rife? What do you think? So I'll begin. Wonder waits with. Hey Don, what's going on, buddy? Hi Chuck. I'm dancing with the idea that there is no source. Where did you go? Where did you go? Hi Chuck. I'm dancing with the idea that there is no source. There is only the unfolding of nature. Our DNA manipulation was done by intelligent life that, if you keep going back, came from nature. Yeah, it's an unfolding. Nature self-complexifies. Terence McKenna talked about this. One of the funny or nutty ideas in science is that nature is in a state of entropy, or the universe is in a state of entropy, whereas actually the universe is in a constant state of expansion. And it's actually a multiverse. Wormholes can take you to other universes, and or universi, what would that be? But anyway, our universe is you can think of it as an organism, okay? And organisms self-complexify and will take on characteristics that are in keeping with the development of the environment. This is a grand way to look at evolution. And just consider that notion, but not in just the earth sense, but in the universal sense, or the universe sense. And when you begin to see things in a larger place like that, you can then begin to understand that there's going to be all kinds of intelligent life that are going to develop in the space. Does that make sense? That's going to naturally come about. And so this is where the balance of nature comes into place, where there is both good and evil. There's going to be both positive and negative species. There's going to be organic development, because the universe is an organism. That's why I term people as nature creatures. People are nature creatures. And we are nature creatures because nature is how God, or the void, manifests. Really, the universe is the imagination of the void. So it's even past the idea of God. Does that make sense? It's to this idea of the unending blackness, which is the emergence of chaos, which sparks these self-organizing systems, one of which happens to be our universe. And it's a very grand thing. So when you think of it on those terms, you really can find it very matter of fact that, of course, there would be multiple species and intelligent life all over the place. Of course, there would be all kinds of species that are both good and bad, and everything in between. Welcome to the universe. Can we touch on law and how? Where did that go? Put that question back up. Looks like a lot of people wanted to talk about Rife. So I'll get to that question and I'll tell you about Rife. So check this out. This is a wild story. So this doctor, I'm not even sure if he was a doctor. Okay, we will. Just take that down for now, and I'm going to touch on Rife because everyone wanted to hear Rife. So take that down. Okay, take that down. Whoever is Shan, if you can thank you. Okay, so okay, so Rife. In the 1930s, I love this story because it's completely organic. So in the 1930s, Rife is this scientist and he's working with microscopes and he's studying different organisms. And what he discovers is when he changes the light for certain organisms, as he's looking at them in the microscope, they dissolve. And so he finds that there are certain organisms that if you just expose them to light, just regular sunlight, they die. If you expose them to ultraviolet light, or if you expose, them to X-ray or something like that, some type of wave form frequency, what begins to happen is, this is just awesome. What begins to happen is you begin to reach the resonant frequency of the layer that holds the cell, the place where the cytoplasms come out, when the cytoplasm that come out of the cell walls, when the anandamide is triggered in the cell. And this is how cannabis heals. It's that CB1 receptor and CB2 receptors. These are receptor sites that cause the cell wall to release ceramides, which go and destroy the mitochondria, which destroy the cell. Now, following in the same principle, now follow what he did, and this is going to tell you how far away the current Rife machines are to what he was doing. So he found that when he had these certain frequencies, these cells, these organisms, pathogens couldn't survive. So he expanded this idea. This is wild. So he knew that it was a frequency, a radio frequency harmonic of the light that was causing the cell wall to dissolve. It was just natural biology. And what he began to do with his partners in the 30s is he began to map what light frequencies killed specific diseases. And they mapped all this out. And they figured out, well, whenever you expose this particular cancerous microorganism to this kind of light, it just dissolves. It just obliterates. It's gone. It's much similar to apoptosis, except this is just a dissolving of the wall or the protein layer. One of the strongest aspects of a cancer cell is the protein shield or layer that goes around, that the cancer forms around itself. It's one of the reasons why it's so hard to treat cancer. And you have to penetrate that cell layer. You have to penetrate that hard protein layer. Well, with light, see, you're not even working like with the fluids. You're working with waves now. You're going to source, in other words, just what we are. We're waves. All right, so take that idea. So then he found that if he amplified certain acoustic frequencies, he then could cause, are you ready? If he amplified those acoustic frequencies loud enough, he could ionize a vacuum tube or a tube filled with specific types of gases like argon, and he could ionize the argon and build and generate plasma. And that plasma aura would contain all the harmonics of the core audio frequencies that are coming in like a tube or channel and generating, when they hit the argon, generate these harmonics that come out of the argon as it splits up, as it ionizes, and from the sound waves. And these ions and the plasma and the sound all combine in a wand. And you would hold the wand over somebody and around somebody, and the plasma aura would come out. Okay. And then the bombardment, it would form into pulses like you see on the tables that they have the plasma orbs, and they send acoustic frequencies into the plasma orbs, and the plasma orbs pump with the acoustic frequencies. Take that exact concept. And then it would do the same thing with harmonics. And the plasma, I shit you not, the plasma would come out of this stuff at those frequencies, bombard any cells that had walls, meaning pathogenic cells that had walls that resonated at that frequency,
would be obliterated and all the other cells are untouched. Now, think of it's the same way your eyes work. I could take infrared light and I could take a blast of it and put it right in your face, and you would just stare, like you wouldn't even respond, like your eyes wouldn't be affected, you wouldn't get burned or anything. And, you know, if you weren't doing it at a frequency that would burn your skin, I'm just saying a bright infrared light. Okay, but if I did that with a spotlight, your eyes would be like, oh my God, you know, you couldn't take it. Okay, now take that same idea. All of these pathogenic cells in your body have a frequency that's sensitive, just like your eyes. The cones and rods in your eyes are sensitive to a very specific light range frequency that they feel. That range of light hits those rods and cones, and they charge because they can feel it. They're attuned to that. Now think of the same thing in the cellular membrane of a pathogen. Think of the same thing. And it doesn't, like, if you put it the wrong frequency or a frequency that's not sensitive to, it doesn't care. It doesn't affect it. It's not resonating. But you put the right frequency with harmonics especially that are bombarding those cells all at once in a specific location. Friend, what do you have happening? You literally have smart wave technology where you're sending waves into the body, tuned to the frequency. I'll show you the picture Saturday. Tuned to the frequencies of the acoustic wave. Remember, that's the channel, the acoustic wave. So if I want to kill, you know, a type of cancer cell that responds to 31 megahertz. So I put in, let's say, 20,000 hertz acoustic, which is right at the edge of human hearing. Like most people can't hear that. Only a female child could hear something like that. And then I amplify it. That's this old technology, and these machines are transistors. I amplify it with tube transistors, and I'm now taking that ultra quiet frequency and I'm putting it through an amplitude generator, an amplifier, and I'm putting it at such an incredibly high frequency and sending it through a cone, which further amplifies it. When it hits that argon, the argon ignites. You're channeling a massive amount of voltage. This thing was something like 2,000 volts running into this argon gas. And it's so powerful that it resonates the argon. The argon resonates and ionizes the ions, the electrons. They start emanating out, and they're on that frequency, like hitting a bell, like hitting a tuning fork. It's the same thing. And they're coming off of the plasma ball in this Rife technology. And you simply hold it next to the body. That's it. You just hold it next to the body. And this shit emanates out of this thing and bombards the body. And this dude was healing people of cancer like left and right. So guess what happened? Guess who moved in? Guess who moved in and took everything? Guess who moved in and took everything? U.S. government, thank you very much. All for your safety, all for your betterment. You can't be having this kind of technology in the public. We can't be doing that. Shit works. So what you have now, what you have people, what they've done is they have combined, now follow this logic here, what they're doing with current Rife machines, because they're not developing plasma. Like, unless you see a Rife machine that's actually developing a plasma ball, and that plasma ball is being held next to your body, that's not a true Rife machine. All they're doing on the Rife machines that don't develop plasma balls is they're generating that initial frequency I told you about, that cone frequency, the carrier, the acoustic carrier frequency that's used as the baseline tone that develops the harmonics that come off the gas. So all you're getting with the current technology is the electromagnetics from that acoustic tone. But unless you've got a beam chamber that's carrying down that acoustic wave that's at a high amplitude, high frequency tone, and you're blasting it with, mathematically aligned tube cone that energizes it to a specific point at the end of that tube in that gas orb of argon, unless you are doing that, you are not engaging the Rife technology. You're gauging a pseudo, like a pseudo version, like a 1% version. Now, it might work. It might work for certain people with certain diseases. So a very small percentage of people would be able to have radical results because there's enough frequency coming off of this thing that's in tune close enough to the specific cell you're attacking for it to work. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm saying that every single version you see, unless a plasma orb is being developed, you are not generating the harmonics, the pulsing harmonics that come off from, that are spawned from the acoustic waveform that's coming out of that cone that's tuned to that frequency. Isn't that wild? That's rife. Let's go to questions. You guys got questions? You guys got questions? We good? Yeah. If this is a good point, Friar, listen, okay, you guys need to understand why I'm so convinced of this is because this is exactly what I was attempting when I fought cancer, except we weren't using light, we were using plant elixirs. And the idea is to raise the biological frequency of your blood and the system healing characters that compromise your blood, that compose your blood, right? That's what they're doing in homeopathy. When you're eating those plant elixirs, what you're doing is you're eating frequencies. And the attempt is that you're engaging the frequencies that break down the cells that are sick in your body. And so if you can find a real rife plasma system, in my opinion, you have found something truly miraculous. And the only thing that's going to determine if it's going to work or not for you is if you can tune it to the correct frequency that corresponds with the disease that you have. Because if it's not the correct frequency, it's not going to work. The whole thing is based on frequency. The whole thing. Okay, good. Let's go to new comments. Chuck, do you have also the feeling we must overcome polarities to become? I don't believe in the idea of superhuman. I believe in the idea of the humane exemplar of the human experience. And so I guess you could call a sage, an enlightened Buddhist, a person who has given themselves away completely to others. I guess you could call them a superhuman, but I'm not talking about like superhuman mind power that goes out and destroys others or compromises others. That's not a superhuman. That's a super predator. That person shouldn't be on the loose. But a person who has done the work and has done the meditative work and has suffered in their life, you really can't realize enlightenment without real suffering. That's a critical element. It goes right along with the excitation or the spiritual epiphany, those moments when you feel truly connected to consciousness, higher consciousness. And so you also will experience the same lows in dynamic pressure. Because the crest has a wave, a compression, and a trough, a rarefaction, and each one is an emulation of the other in the opposite polarities. And you go through this in order to quote unquote graduate on this planet. If you're a softie and you've never experienced real suffering, you will never know the enlightened experience in the same way. If you've never had any kind of spiritual epiphany and done the personal meditative work to realize such a space, you see, you'll never know that either. And that person, what do they merit in life? And life is, nature is a meriting system. In case you haven't noticed, it's a meriting system. And it has it's composed of waves, which creates wakes, right? And so all of this is related to the individual who is able to walk that path in a space of equilibrium. Okay. You're welcome, rulers. Here, love. Who's this? Hi, Paula. Oh, I love your kitty. I love kitties. All right. I'm using plant elixirs. That's correct. Those are the extractions they make with steam, water, alcohol, different types of CO2, or different. There are many ways to extract plant elixirs to heal. Exactly. As cancer appears to respond as a parasite. Exactly. Stacy, I'm working along with what he is talking about per the CAP's importance of what I'm saying. Yeah, they work. And the trick is, and as you're finding this out, Paula, is finding the one that works for you. Because the one that works for your friend, a stranger, a parent, a family member, whatever, may or may not work for you, because we're all biologically different. Even if it's your mom and dad, you will have a different type of resonant frequency. It's the same thing as your artistic. Think of your artistic ability as the same kind of carefree frequency as your immune system. Some people like certain kinds of art. Some immune systems are better with pathogens than others. And we all are unique and different in our take, because we're frequencies, we're resonation. And everything is based on resonation, frequency. And you just got to find the frequencies that work for you. Yeah. I'm a big believer in, welcome back, les deplorables. Sorry, I'm not French. I just crucified that name. Sorry. But welcome back, deplorables. Welcome back. Okay. Yeah, I'm a big believer in high mineral content. The Celtic salt is fantastic. It's made from a clay that's super rich in minerals. And I have really found that really also helps with energy. Having a really good, strong load of minerals is great for energy. Also, iodine. Ingesting iodine, I found, also is really helpful. Looks like Fortune just got here. Welcome, Fortune. What is going on? We've been talking health for a bit. We're talking health. It's new to me. Tell me about them, Eldana. Schnusser salts. Now, see, I can get Celtic salt pretty easily. That sounds like something that would be pretty complicated to get, but I bet it would work. I'm sure it's something great. Priest class hate knowledge, and the controllers hate us waking up. Exactly. Shan, if you want to put up, or Stacy, if you want to put up a question from the banners, go ahead. That's fine. And I'll just keep slow scrolling here. The deplorables. Did Dr. Rife work with a Dr. Alfredo? I haven't done a deep enough dive to know, but I have got to tell you, Mr. Deplorables, there would be something extremely legit in a Rife machine that develops these plasma orbs. I fully, like, when it was described to me and I read how they've got a site, I'll show all this Saturday, but they got a site you can go to and read all about it. And it made complete sense, because I have an acoustic, I have a sound background. I'm trained in sound and acoustics. And so the technology it uses was a second home for me. It was a natural for me in what I know best in engineering, and I know sound. And so it basically starts with that. And so then when it complicated into this idea of amplification, and then into a vacuum chamber filled with argon gas, right? I can completely understand what they're doing. I completely see it. And so I wanted you guys to know. I want you guys to know about it. So it's legit. Yes, you can find more information about it. Yes, it is covered in the YouTube I mentioned. Okay, that's not for me.
Why is the progress slowed down on this planet? Because of the danger of losing the golden egg solution? No, they're not going to lose any of that. They haven't until now. Only a few got through. Progress has slowed down because we're on a 309,000 year cycle. And we have been basically a part of a massive gardening faction that it composes the planets of this solar system. And this solar system is captured by what is called the Orion group. And it is a group of negative or evil energies, both forms and non-form, formless, meaning shapeshifters. Both are in this consortium of evil, and our planets were captured. Our planets have been captured by this group for God knows how long, millions of years. So the way that the system emulates itself, meaning the way that the universe works, is it works through waves. And there are perturbations that occur as the universe expands. Think of it as like a pulsing heart in the body. Think of those as perturbations. And those perturbations of your heart pushes blood through your body, which keeps you alive and conscious. It is flow that keeps you conscious. Okay. Now, the universe works in the same principles as us. We work in the same principles of the universe. We are part and parcel of each other. And so these pulsations are like the heartbeat of the universe. And in our case, our black hole pulsates and it rings. That's the Schumann resonance that comes off the earth. That's from the pulsations that come off the sun and the black hole. And the black hole emulates these enormous waves that come, and this is Cassiopaean tech, that come out of the black hole or the universe in these 309,000 year crests. So when you look at a waveform, it goes up, it crests, and then it goes down, it troughs. It goes up, it crests. And as it crests and as it troughs, there is great eruption as there's a change in the wave power. It's a shifting because it's going from this upward to lower crest, and that wave is what we are in now. Until that happened, that perturbation of the wave, we've been in a long cycle of no change, stagnancy. So we've been locked in a growth cycle. And right now we are leaving sort of that growth cycle, you could say, for the human enterprise, as this 309,000 year wave makes it through. And so as it crests through, there are breakups in the 3D and 4D layers of consciousness that compose the universe, because this wave is across all the layers. And so like the Rife frequency passes right through your skin and affects certain cells, think of this waveform as nothing is unaffected, everything is affected. So as this effect of pinching and expansion occur, as this thing does this 180, right? As it's turning around, going the other way, or 90-degree turn, as it's turning around, what happens is you have pinch points in the 3D and 4D layers that don't exist while the wave is in its smooth cycle going up and while the wave is in its smooth cycle going down. And so you have a moment of opportunity. It's sort of like catching a bus. You have a moment of opportunity when the bus is there, when you can actually get on it, and then there's no opportunity before it's there, and there's no opportunity after it's there. The opportunity's gone. Now, everything in the universe works like that, because as above, so below. Everything emulates itself, okay? And so this is exactly what is happening in this wave. And so at these pinch points of 3 and 4D, if you are a 3D being, meaning you got skin on, right? You got skin on, you know about things like time, you know what things feel like, you can see things, hear things, touch things, say things, you're just experiencing, right? Okay, that means you have a body. And that means you are 3D oriented in this illusion that you live in. Understanding that it's all waveform collapse in your head, just work with me here.
And so you are in a 3D illusion. And right now in this waveform, you have a moment of opportunity to leave, to transcend, to move, in other words, increase, complexify your reality, your being, your soul, your intellect, your potential right now. And for however long, there is a moment where the field of opportunity that we have been living in is changed. This is what you are seeing right now in the world. You are seeing the field that's been dead and stagnant, caught in this illusion that comes out of Babylon, this illusion that comes out of the context, way even before that. It's been caught, the field. And every time we've emerged from these genetic changes, the field is that you're in a trap. You can't get out. This is what Buddhism is all about, is escaping this trap. Okay. Well, because of the wave change, the veil that has kept you trapped in this specific 3D frequency is breaking up, just like the cell layer of the veil that holds the cell together, that the Rife frequency goes in and dissolves. And so now this web, this 4D net that keeps you from moving to 5D and transcending to fourth density, which is no form, has been in place. And now it is breaking up. Right now, there's a pinch point. And that net that has kept you from moving into full 4D STO as a 3D individual has been kept from you. So when he asks, losing the golden eggs, no. There's no losing the golden eggs going on. We have been in a controlled environment to keep everybody's soul essence, that which animates this material body, has been caged. It's been caged. Everyone, I'm telling you, the world has been in a caged situation. Souls ain't leaving. You're getting caught in the trap. Most everyone does, or doesn't know how to get out of the trap and eventually ends there, and you're sent right back. The whole idea of Buddhism and escaping reincarnation is escaping that net. The very one that the Cassiopaeans talk about, that the Anunnaki talk about, that all these ancient traditions talk about. The net that surrounds the earth and does not allow the soul to escape. It's not a physiological net. It's not water. It's not plasma. It's spiritual. You can't see it. It's not observable to your eyes. There is no form to see. That's why those people that go out of body and see it, it's because they're in 4D. You can see it in 4D. You can see it in 4D, and they've known about this forever. You can watch the videos, they're available to you. And right now, as this wave moves through, we have the opportunity to escape. Right now. Right now. And the question is, are you going to wake up enough, expand your conscious awareness enough to then opportune yourself, aka save yourself, opportune yourself the opportunity to leave the field of stagnancy, of egregores, belief systems, lies that have kept you caged in a 3D consciousness. That's the big picture. And right now, it's going down. Right now, going downtown Charlie Brown. Okay. Okay. Next question. This. Good advice. Hi, Mel. Glad you're here. Hi, Max. Welcome. Oh, I like your new profile, Max. That's cool. It's a realm for experience. Understand. Every realm is to be revered or honored in its sense. Okay? So 3D is supposed to be sensorial. It's supposed to be trapped in time. It's not supposed to be 4D. It's 3D. So when I go to the museum and I'm looking for a Monet painting, I'm not going to where they're touting modernism. I'm not going to find Monet in that section. He's going to be in Impressionists. Okay. So when I go to in the Impressionist area, I respect and love it for its impressionistic, its impressionism. It's appreciated and revered. It's a different kind of beauty, art, than dance, than sculpture, than Rembrandt, okay, than your modern day singer. Okay, that's its capacity. Let it be that capacity and love it. Love the 3D experience. Don't chastise it. Don't chastise it. It's like, oh, this is the incarnation of evil. This is the incarnation of terrible things. No. The world is to be celebrated and loved, right? What's the quote? This world, with all its ills, with all its sorrows, with all its sufferings, is the golden lotus world right now as it is. And if you cannot see it as such, that's not the world's fault. That's not 3D's fault. That's your fault. What must be changed is not the world, not 3D, but your perspective of it. That's the Buddhist wisdom. That's the deeper wisdom. That's the 4D perspective looking at 3D. This is something to be enjoyed. Life is something to be lived fully, completely in it, completely, right? Be in the now, full sensorial, full tilt, okay? But here's the trick. It's really contagious. And you'll start thinking that this illusion is real or dead because you have lost reverence for what it is. Its capacity, right? And its capacity is what is speaking to you so that you transcend that capacity so that you aren't caught in 3D, but you fully engage in 3D. You give yourself to life. And by giving yourself to life, do you see? You then free yourself from that life. Do you understand? You're not holding to it. You're passing through it with flow. You're celebrating the moment you're in. You're not wishing that you were in the medieval ages. You're not wishing that you were in 2500. You're here now. And you're so damn thankful for being here now that you don't want to be in the future or the past. And when you're in that space, you see you can only be in the space of flow because the now is a space of flow. So the more you hold to life and put it into pictures, certain artists called religions, and you force life into certain artworks called Christianity, called atheism, called Judaism, and you force the artwork that is life and you pigeonhole it into a belief system, do you see how you have compromised the art? It's like trying to express the technology through the technology of Tesla through the paintings of Monet. Your detail is going to be tough, bro. They're not appropriate for one another. So it's inappropriate then. It's inappropriate to take the 4D and force fit it into a 3D technology, which is religion. Belief systems. Those are called mind technologies. And that software is limited to the current program running, just in case you didn't know that. It's only relative to where the program is at that time. And you are to be in a state, an ontology that transcends any idea of reductionism, reducing the art that is life, to the forms that you demand, to the binoculars that you place on your face, called science, religion, history, medicine, government. And when you start putting your trust in an institution as a nature creature, do you see what you've just done? You just caged the lion. That's what you did. You took something, namely your spirit, your intellect, and you put it into a zoo. Honestly, you put it into a zoo. You took the pure nature, the pure art, and you forced it into a form, namely a religion, namely a zoo, namely an institution. And you, my friend, are a free spirit. Your true identity is your soul. You're a free spirit. The only person that can capture your soul is you, your own mind. So until you escape the art that you force your truth into, namely a religion, how free are you? How free is Tesla's technology if the only way you can express and show people his technology is using impressionistic art, where all you're getting are globs of paint? You're going to get a general picture of a Tesla coil, a Tesla machine, but you ain't going to get one freaking detail because so much is missing. What happens when you put the world into a particular religion, a particular science? What happens? All the detail is gone and it's smeared into just one general sense called this belief, this room, this building, right? So how much are you going to know? How much are you going to know if it's a smear? And so nature is the truth. Here's the key picture. Nature is the only truth that's going to be detailed enough, meaning your experience, that will be detailed enough to actually teach you the truth. Your personal experience. Because a book is only going to give you a smear job. One lecture, one movie, one or two experiences. You're not going to get a close enough picture. You're going to have a lot of experiences, talking back to when we started this thing, a lot of experiences of the polarity of the wave in order to get a grasp of what you're in, you see? And so to me, we are to fully experience the 3D. Be here now. Just don't be attached. You get attached to this space, you'll start to become a fanatic. And when you become a fanatic, guess what happens? Ain't nobody want to be around you. Nobody wants to be around a fanatic. Nobody. Everybody prefers to not be around people who are flying off the handle at every third word. Nobody wants to be around someone like that. So if we're ever going to get through this 3D thing, we've got to get out of the micro view. Okay, let's get to questions here. Okay. Hi, Verbal. Are you you are not going to let that one go. That is a good time. There you go. Okay, it's from the movie They Live. It's a funny line about bubblegum. Okay. Because I'll tell you something. Let me tell you something, Gloomer Dude. Is that a kitty on there too? Oh my God. I think that's a kitty cat. It might be two of them. Fantastic. Okay. Anyway. This is something you only find out. Okay, I'm gonna preach this one. This is something you only find out when you actually give yourself to the city. So I'm gonna open this up with this thought here. Years ago, Terence McKenna opened a talk where he said in the talk, if you really want to know a culture, a local society, you have to move there and you got to get a local job. And preferably either date or marry a local or develop a friend or two in that local city. And then you're going to need to live there for at least 2 decades. And then you will understand their culture. But if I am a pre-prof, I'm in school, getting my bachelor's degree, right? And I'm reading about that culture. And I'm seeing movies about that culture. And I'm listening to professors talk about that culture. Do I know that culture? How well do I know that culture? It would be safe to say you don't know jack squat about that culture. Jack squat. Ask any local. Ask any local. Okay, so here, take that same concept to nature. If you're like me and you lived your whole life in the city, which is what I did. I lived my whole life. I grew up in Southern California, right? Lived in SoCal until I was 20 years old, okay? Big city, Los Angeles, California, Anaheim, Fullerton, Brea, Whittier, La Habra, Yorba Linda. These were all my backgrounds growing up, and that's all I knew. Okay, that's all I knew. Got married and moved to Tennessee. Lived in a smaller town called Franklin, Brentwood area, for 5 years. I got a little teeny tiny taste of like living near green forest kind of tree kind of action, but still hadn't totally experienced it. Still was in a suburb, right? Still was quote unquote living in the city. I was within the county lines. Okay. And then I moved from there to Texas and I lived in Frisco. You talk about concrete jungle. I mean, concrete jungle to find. And we moved to Frisco when it was still a dirt road to get there. It was before it'd been bought out by all the Jerry Jones crowd. Okay. So we lived in Frisco for years. Watched the city develop. I literally lived in that city when it went from, I think, something like 70,000 people or some number to like, I think it's something or something like 50,000 people to something like it's now 250,000, 300,000. I lived there. Okay. So I've been in the city my whole life. Okay. It was from there, Frisco, that I moved to the Pacific Northwest. Okay. Now here's the trick. I really didn't know what this place was doing to me, honest to God. I live in a forested area. I live in a forest, right? I didn't know what it was doing until about 5 or 6 years in. So these people that tell you that they go and get away for a while, they go spend 2 weeks at a place, or they go check out for 6 months at the ashram, and they go meditate for 6 months. I'm telling you right now, that doesn't even give you an inkling of what a totally new environment is bringing you. Because you're bringing in all your resonant frequencies, you're bringing in all your aura and waves, right? And all of your behaviors that you've been creating, this wake up. And the forest is a slow dissolver. Fresh air, beautiful sunshine, clean rain. These things are the long go. They take a while, but they're the long go. And when you're in a forested environment and the birds singing and this kind of a thing, it literally heals you. But the thing is, Gloomerdom, the thing is, every single time you hear somebody that say, oh, I got my refresher course, I'm totally rejuvenated, I went out and took 6 weeks off and I disappeared, to the jungle or whatever. You, like McKenna said, if you truly want to feel and experience life-altering change, you have to go and replant. Abandon. You have to abandon your former world. That's the only way that you're going to ever know and truly know and experience and then be affected by a changed environment. It wasn't until I was here 10 years that I started having my biggest epiphanies. One of those was a nature creature. That was a byproduct of living here. So very good question. That is true. And that's not a degradation to people that live in the city. I lived in the city my whole life. I'm just saying that when you leave that space of concrete, when you leave that space of park life where you just have a little oasis of green and stuff, when you leave that space, you go into your natural environment as a nature creature. And nature's a slow grind. So it will affect you miraculously, but you actually won't start to have this metamorphosis happening until you really realize and look back what you've done. And then you have all of this understanding that you now have as you've spent years of your life letting go of all the things that you depended on. Count on it. Like when you're in the city, a friend is 5 minutes away no matter where you live. Your friendship circle, everybody's local. When you live in the forest, like people could be like freaking 20 miles away, your best friend, because everything's spread out. And it just changes your life when you're not being watched every day. You're not living in a suburb where every time you walk on your lawn, every time you go in your backyard, you're being watched, you're being seen. Sight affects us. We know that at the quantum scale, right? And I'm telling you, when you have birds looking at you rather than people, it changes your resonant frequency. We're byproducts of what we look at. And it goes as far as you want to go. Sorry, I'll move on to another question. Sorry. But no put down to anybody that lives in the city at all. I'm just saying it's a totally different experience. This here. Thank you, Fortune. Brilliant. Thank you. Brilliant. So what questions do we got? Go ahead and post another question if we got one. Yes, Chuck, but what about the art of Da Vinci or Michelangelo that depict Jesus and Mary? Nothing wrong with that. Even if not Christian, that works. Of course it is. No. There's nothing wrong with that. No, I was giving you the larger scope. Do you want all of the art in the world to be Da Vinci style? No. Do you want all the art in the world to be Michelangelo style? No. Do you want parts of it to be? Little sections of it that you can enjoy? Absolutely. Okay, why would you feel any different about your spiritual life? Why would you want to put all of your spiritual life into one form of art, namely Christianity, namely Judaism, namely New Age? Why would you want to stuff your spiritual experience into one form of art? And that was the point. So absolutely, a little dose of Da Vinci, heck yeah, man. So beautiful. It's like drinking a little dose of wonderful wine. Heck yeah, man. Or Michelangelo, same thing. Just like sometimes I want to hear metal. Sometimes I want to hear Bach. Sometimes I want to hear jazz. Sometimes I want to hear funk. You know, it just depends on the flavor of the day. And so, I mean, and you guys have experienced that in my openers. I mean, everything. It just doesn't matter. I like it all. I'll just find stuff I like and play it. So yes, I'm a big believer in a wide swath. Yeah, right on. Yeah, I figured. I do. I love nature. It healed me. It was a big part of my healing from cancer. Hi, Jay. What's going on, buddy? Is there some sort of divine selection progress to those who can awake? As I realized, all of us that have escaped the claws of religion, it's usually just one at most per family. So here, okay, this gets into something that's really hard for me to accept, and it's really hard for me to go with, okay? There are many people, not just me, and there are many mythologies, sort of the I call them like the psychotronic psychologies, like Cassiopaean, where you're bringing into the societal development this psychotronic, this mind-oriented technology that changes and develops the society. Okay, and so there are many ways, in other words, to awaken through many different technologies. And therefore, there's percentages of the population that will be able to harmonize and resonate with those quote unquote spiritual technologies. And I use that in a very loose term. Okay. So the rub comes in the capacity of the population. And the troubling stuff, and I'm sure, Jay, and what you observe every day, is that there seems to be a whole lot of people, or a number of people, that don't get like the baseline dot to dot, put it together to understand just how a society works in a humane way. And what you see now, expanding on that, what you see now are factions or groups of people that are literally embracing communism. They're literally embracing it. They literally believe you can build a wonderful society doing nothing but obliterating wealthy people and giving money away to poor people. They don't make the connection, the baseline, like, no, life is merited. You can't make a person financially responsible by handing them free money, and you can't build wonderful businesses and so on and so forth, stealing from those who are doing the work. You have to have a system of balance here where people merit their life, where people merit their accomplishments. It's the only way you're going to build fulfillment. And there seems to be a vast group of people that have no intention of doing that. They have no intention of meriting their life. They have no intention of meriting their spiritual walk. They have no intention of learning more than what they are taught by the media, by the school systems. They're satisfied with that. They go to a Jewish church, an Islamic church, a Christian church, a Scientology church, and they're satisfied with that. That's enough. It's enough. They pocket everything into that system, and they're like, great, I'm thrilled with it. I would never change it. I don't want to change it. So don't talk to me about any awakening. I don't want to change. Okay. And these are the ones. Now notice, how many people do you know are more like that than they are open? They're kind of more just generally like, whatever, Trevor, I can roll with it. I want to make it work. Let's work together. Let's not decide on anything, because there's no deciding in a wonder. Let's find common ground. These people don't seem to be capable of that. They only want to hear their words coming out of your mouth. That's all they're interested in. It's like the media. They're only interested in their narrative. If you've got another idea, a counter idea, a critiquing idea, they're not interested. They are not interested. Look at just, and to see this and make it, and to see it, obviously, look at the psychology of COVID. Look at how it went down. I know people, locals, okay? I worked at the grocery store. I was interacting with them all the time, okay? And for the first 5 years, literally, that I worked there, I would sit and have conversations with these folk, and we would talk about the corruption of the medical system. We would literally have an hour conversation, okay? Talking about how corrupt the medical system was, how corrupt Big Pharma was, how the whole thing was a machine to make money. I was talking to people all the time where I worked, okay? Locals, okay? So we what I thought, we had a common ground of like, okay, you can't trust the system. You can't trust what the media says. We're on that common ground. Like, you can't trust just because an authority has a bachelor's degree on the wall and a master's degree, or even a PhD. That doesn't mean you blindly go and saying, yes, master, tell me everything. I will only listen to you. You don't do that. You don't give your humanity away. And by God, you look around at the world, people can't wait to give up their sovereignty. They can't wait. They can't wait to give all their spiritual system to religion. They can't wait. They can't stuff their new experiences into that religion fast enough. In fact, model their entire life on not only its religious standings, but its science too. We're talking earlier than medieval age sciences are what built the foundation of the current modern day religions. Do you understand? And the world, and here's the sobering moment. The Cassiopaeans claim that over 80% of the population does not have a bigger capacity than that, meaning they cannot imagine a world or life or existence outside of the religion, the science, the medicine they have put themselves into. Meaning, even if they wanted to, they can't leave. The capacity is not there. They literally cannot escape, recover from cognitive dissonance. That puts them in the grave. They cannot handle two opposing truths in their mind at the same time and be like, totally cool, bro. Totally cool. Welcome to the wonder. I love it. I love it. God is a form. Okay. God is not a form. Okay. However you want to roll, bro. No attachment to anything. Able to cognize, walk into any space. Does a religionist, a fanatic, are they able to do that? Can they even contemplate a common ground between 10 religions and not decide on any or push any to any other? No. Capacity is not there. They are not interested in a world without Allah. They're not interested. They're not interested. The Jews, they're not interested in a world without Yahweh. Not interested. Not interested. Don't even talk to me about it. The Christian, not interested in a world without Jesus. Not interested. Don't even talk to me about it. Not interested. I don't know what you're saying. Why would I ever leave this religion that gives me all my answers, that answers all my prayers? That's the God that I relate to. That is our history. That is our science. What kind of a mad person are you to think that I would leave that? How mad are you? How crazy are you? I'm happy. I like my religion. I love it. Why would I ever leave? You see? Because it's really easy to get a newbie real excited about technology. It's really easy. And if that newbie thinks that's as good as that technology gets, and that's the biggest way that technology can roll, they'll think, I've discovered it all. I've found the wonder. I've done it. But if you don't realize that there are all these other technologies that actually do an even better job than the one that you've bought into, just how much you're going to grow if you're locked in that room. And see, here it is. If you're locked in that capacity, and see, here it is, Jay. And this is the tragedy, friend. This is the tragedy. That the ones you love the most, the ones you want so badly to be free, are the very ones that disagree with you most heinously and will never, ever, ever contemplate those reasonings that you have as an awakened, a person ready for the great awakening. It is tragic, Jay. It is tragic. I like this. Just put a question up. Here we go. Hi, Friar Tuck. Chuck, when we finally escape, what does that look like? Do we have to pass, or are we just going to morph somehow into a second Earth? So, Friar Tuck, I tried to answer this question the other evening. And in my opinion, and thank you for whoever's doing this, leaving the question out, because it helps me keep on track. So first of all, my opinion is that we have been held from graduating, okay? The web, the 4D web that you cannot see, that is not a form, that has held us on this planet, right, has not allowed us to graduate. It's like learning to swim in 20-foot water, but the pool only goes 8 feet deep. It's like trying to soar like an eagle and you're flying with turkeys. It's the same idea, okay? We can't get out. You can only go so far in this capacity, right? So what does it now look like is different than what all those ancient legends talk about, follow, what the Book of the Dead was talking about, what they're talking about in some of these alchemical senses, and that there is a great plane, a great distance that must be crossed. This idea, Friar Tuck, that we have been separated, we have been separated from the normal development of a soul. I see your identity, my identity, as the soul. We're not the skin. We are what animates the skin, the soul. And the soul has its own epochs of life or time, you could say. And those are contained in an experience called a human experience. And if you're an alien experience. And that soul that composes who we are takes on all these different forms. And so when you die, there is a potential, there's a capacity that is available from the experiences of your life called truth. As you go through life and experience life, you build what is called truth, because truth only you can know, and truth can only be known through experience. No one can hand you truth. No book can give you truth, okay? You only learn the true truth through experience. So when you die, you have this arsenal of experience that has shaped the development of your soul as it moves through lifetimes in this organism called the universe. And we have been in a captured system whereby the soul, which normally would have left the earth and gone to another dimension, I'll explain in a minute, we have been trapped here. And you would get caught in a net. You would hear voices that are familiar from your life. You would see scenes that you loved growing up or seeing as an adult. You would hear and see your wife, your spouse, your kids, maybe a friend that died when you were a kid. Maybe you lost a baby in a miscarriage. You would see this in the illusion. It uses your own memory, the way the system was set up. It would use your own download. So it just basically reads your software, reads your program, what you've been doing. And then it gives you, delivers to you, the net does this. It delivers to you your life. What you feel like you missed. What you wish you could have had. And it generates this longing to return idea from your own freaking choice. And therefore you comply with the trap and you go to that space that you think is your destiny, is heaven. That's been the trap. So you never went to 5D. You never went past 4D. You left 3D, became a spirit, hit the net, heard, saw your previous life, other lives, something that made you feel good, and you're like, that's heaven, I'm going. Captured by your own will, by your own choice. And because you're complicit, you give your sovereignty, the sovereignty of your soul, away. That's the trick. So now, Friar Tuck, what has happened is, we're like what I said earlier in today's talk, we are at the pinch point of the wave. And that 4D net, follow, is breaking apart, if it hasn't already, because of the wave, the compression and rarefaction of that which composes the 7 layers that is consciousness, that is the universe. There's a perturbation right now. There's a shift. There's a pinch point. And that's causing a fissure, an opening. Like if someone smashes you in the face and they don't hit you with anything sharp, blunt, but because the pressure was so high, it splits your skin open, that's a fissure. And you can think of the same thing as we pass through 3D to 4D. There are fissures, openings, like in that picture of the Atlantic base that we looked at on Saturday, and the Atlantic Ocean, and there were fissures called volcanoes that were pushing out from the pressures of the plates as they pushed in on each other, impinged on each other, and the pressure points shooting out lava, not at the pressure point, but at a side note because of the pressure. And the same thing is happening with this web. It's breaking up. The pressure from the Schumann, the pressure from the wave from the black hole is breaking up. These two things are harmonizing. The ringing of the earth like a bell and the ringing of the wave from the black hole harmonize. And that harmonizing happens at the 4D layer. And it's like throwing a baseball into the water. Like all its momentum stops. You've changed the environment of it. And we've been traveling through space, and all of a sudden we're in this wonky moment. And everything's like, everything's kind of cattywampus. And you have this moment of quote unquote decision where you can leave the trap. And you don't go to the fake heaven. You don't go to the fake hell. You don't go to the fake illusion that you carry with you when you die. You have the opportunity to think for yourself. And by releasing from any belief system, you free yourself from taking that as you transition, so that you are free to think clearly and decide, wait a minute, I ain't going to that light. I'm not going to a specific point that's calling me. I'm going to where my heart leads, and that leads you to what's called fifth density. You're not choosing here. The mind leads you in the same way your heart led you to those that you love. You didn't choose to love your child. You didn't choose to love your spouse. You did automatically. You never chose any of it. You didn't choose your favorite food. You didn't choose your favorite color. This came out of you. Folks, that's 4D. When you die, guess what's in charge? 4D, not this thing. This thing. And so when this thing is in charge, where is it taking you if you've been living a life of STS or STL? What's your wake? And your wake, the life, the resonance that you have been placing your heart in your everyday experience, is what you are. That's what you are. That's the resonance you carry. And so when you die, that doesn't stop, friend. That doesn't stop. You carry that resonance with you. So if you're a total prick, guess what happens? When you die, you're not going to be going to such a nice place, because it's going to be a hard place to learn to not be a prick. Sorry, you wanted it. You merited that. That's the way you wanted life. You wanted to be that way. If you wanted to take from others, harm others, get in their way, take their wife, take their kids, whatever, you're just a complete prick. That is the wake. And nature's going to deliver you exactly what you want. That's how you can know when these pricks that have been running the world die. Guess the wake that they're carrying. Guess the world that they're going to experience. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? And at the same time, if you've been living a life of STO, you live a life of giving yourself away. You're living a life of a sage. You're living a life of helping each other and one another. And you're being a part of the betterment of others. Well, guess what? You will resonate to a higher frequency. You will not be a low frequency being. And the universe recognizes changes like that. And if you resonate at a higher frequency, guess what, friend? You're going towards 4D. Higher, it's called crystallization. And this is what you carry when you die. And that will determine where you go. Because you go to 5D, and 5D is a place of no time, no like anything that you can imagine, like the dream state. It's like the dream state for your soul. And the state of mind that you go into when you go to sleep is the same state of mind that your soul goes into when the soul, quote unquote, sleeps or rests between lifetimes of experience. You follow? It's very practical and pragmatic. You don't have to have a PhD to understand these concepts. And so, what are you carrying? What's the resonation that you carry? How are you with people? Are you an arguer? Do you bring about strife? Are you a complainer, constantly bringing other people's world down by just complaining all the time? Are you a lurch? Are you constantly trying to take from others? Or are you working your life to be able to be a part of the giving to others and the betterment of others, the betterment of yourself, the betterment of your spouse? Are you doing things? Are you engaged in your life that have nothing to do with your betterment, but are for the betterment of others, which, as you know, if you're an STO, then become your betterment, because when you live your life like that, that's called a life of fulfillment. That's called a life of completeness. That's called a life of faith. You're not self-centered. You're not ego-oriented. You're not following the dominator. You're partnership-oriented. Your behaviors constellate your heart. Your decisions come from your heart. And so when you die as an STO, you go where your heart calls you. That's called fifth density. And there you will manifest. You'll remanifest as a higher state being. And you'll either go to 4D, the formless world, or you'll go back to 3D at a higher world than this one, where you will learn even greater and greater lessons to prepare you for being a 3D spirit, 4D spirit. It's up to you. Awesome question. My God. Fantastic. Hi, Bill. Aren't we all divinity in action? Yes. But we are being subject to artificial frequencies? Yes. That we must be aware of and guard against? Yes. Always be detoxing. Love your perspective. Monopolypragmatist. Awesome. Awesome. Great word. Yes, monopolypragmatism would be a great way to go. And yeah, it's all about that. I'm on early because I start early on Wednesdays. Gretchen, what's happening? It's fine to love your religion, but when its tenets revolve around shoving it down people's throat, it's yuck. Right, but hear the bigger picture here, Gretchen love. Yes, there's nothing wrong with loving your religion, but understand, religions are like OS software. They are not compatible with other software. Okay, these things don't mix. It's like if you're in a monogamous relationship, that doesn't go along with a polymorphic relationship, a polygamy relationship, where you're going whatever way. If you have disagreement, religions are the same way. They're not interested in sharing your spirituality. Like the Christian, that religion is not interested in sharing its viewpoints as the atheist. These things don't go together. It's not interested in sharing its belief or tenets with Islam. It's not interested in New Age. These are incompatible. So here's what you need to see. Very practical. Just know that if you are in a religion, you're in one of those spaces of limitation. Just know that. And if that's satisfying to you, great. But it's a much, much smaller world than what is on offer outside of those beliefs, outside of that religion. So yes, a religion can be beautiful. Buddhism is beautiful. A beautiful philosophy, a wonderful approach to life. Is it the thing? No. Is it the only thing that matters or counts? No. Is it the e-ticket, the one holy way? No. No. It's a conversation. It's some opinions. But it's not going to tell you what to do. It's not going to tell you how to live. That's what religions do. Religions want you to be obedient. Follow orders. Get in line. That's it. Do as you're told. Believe as we say, meaning the religion. You see? So this is very important. So when you're in the Museum of Religions, enjoy the sights. Look at them all. Every one of them's got something that's going to be helpful to you, I imagine. And I don't care which one you pick. One of them's going to have something efficacious in it. But do not ever get tied in. Okay, next question. Awesome. Awesome. Hi, Jay. Chuck, is there a rogue elite that are fueling this awakening? Who are they? Okay, so here's what I think, Jay. I think the natural outpouring of the change in wave frequency, what's happening right now, okay? And I've said this from way back in the beginning, even when I was talking about cliff highs, Kali Yuga. I believe that the quote unquote blame or ownership for what is happening right now is on that energetic change that is changing the field of perspective, which is changing the fuels that run the world. So it's not any one mind group or affiliate that is behind the change, good or evil. They are part and parcel to the change. And the change is a specific type of awakening frequency from what I can pick up. And this frequency is at the base of the changes you see in the world. Whatever groups are encouraging that change are simply formations out of that changing energy, that change energy from the wave. So there may well be groups, there may well be people like us, like me, like you, right, that awaken amidst this turmoil. And then there's going to be others that do not. But the point being, it's the field that's changing that's causing the perspective change, Jay. So don't give credit to any group or individual for the changes that are happening on the planet. Understand they're in the same wave of awakening as you. They're just at a different spot than you are. But they're at a place of change just like you. And the world is changing just like you're observing. So nothing's wrong. Everything is fine. It's just that the resonance, the frequency that motivates and generates the earth is changing from a low frequency that generates and keeps in place the egregores, the lies, the advantaging of others and so forth. And it's changing to a higher frequency. And so it won't have capacity for unending lies and unending evil because the frequency of the earth is rising. It's building. Just like the frequency of the collective, that's also rising and building. Great question. Great question. Hey, party time, what's going on? What do you know about simulation theory? A little bit. Some say they can see the cracks in our reality. Yes, by smoking DMT and viewing laser. What you're seeing when you smoke the DMT is you are seeing the syntax that is behind and underlies the illusion that is the collapse of the world as you look at it. So there's a syntax. When you watch the movie The Matrix, that's syntax, okay? And the way the DMT brings it to you, that syntax that you see is like green in the Matrix, and like you would see the forms and they're all syntax. What they're showing you in the Matrix is that the world is an illusion. The world is words that have put you into a spell that have caused you to believe the world as it is. But the world is a collapse in reality, And so what you're seeing with DMT is your conscious mind is able to access this alternate frequency world, which is the syntax which underlies our 3D matrix. It's sort of the first phase of the ether of mind. You could think of plasma as the first phase of the ether in the material world, right? And you could think of this simulation theory as what is coming out of the DMT world to show it to you, right? The DMT world is basically giving you a chance, a moment to leave the fabric layer, the collapsing layer that comes out of your mind. And so you don't have that collapsing, subjecting layer where the world is becoming what your eyes force it to be from the resonating frequency that they're at. So you're locked in that world, the one that your eyes resonate, the one your ears. Okay. DMT is giving you a view of the world before your eyes, before your ears, but not in a time sense, in a now sense. It's stripping the layer, the common denominator layer that has become your illusion in your life. And it accesses a point of your brain that removes that from being implicit to your existence. So then without that implicit wall of 3D illusion, you very clearly and lucidly can walk into that space because it's the syntax. It's everything. It's everything. And it's all there to access. It's no longer in a form. It's what I'm trying to say. So DMT offers you that. Great stuff. That's what that is. Great stuff. And simulator theory is a part of it. Simulator theory is a part of it. We'll get to that on another question. That was a great question. Hi, AT's weather. Here we go. Hi, AT's weather. Okay. If your mind memory gets wiped during every cycle. Yes, it does. Forgot to mention that. How can you learn anything? It's a soul thing. When the body dies, the trap of the mind goes with it. And so your soul is part and parcel of the Akashic field. So you have a brief window of opportunity at your death, right, to have all this life experience you have and not have it wiped out yet. One of the ways that the trick worked was that the soul went through an electromagnetic pulse. When you were on your way to the light, and you're hearing Jesus's voice, you're hearing the voice of Allah, you're hearing grandpa's voice, grandma's voice. You're hearing that voice of distance calling you and saying, come to me, Chuck. I love you so much. Come to me. You're beautiful. I love you. We're going to be in paradise together. When you get that, you would end the tube at a sphere that was filled with a white essence, and that essence were the souls. And as you entered into that sphere, there was a shock that would hit you. And that shock was your memory removal. Think of it like getting hit in the head, like a concussion. And some people lose their memory. Think of it the same way, except this works at the soul level, the 4D level. Yeah? I'm reading a question, make sure I'm answering it. Yeah. And so that's why it was so important for you to be able to reach 5D, to contemplate your life, to grow. They're not going to allow that. The people, the aliens that have been running the show are not going to allow you to graduate. They weren't. That's why. Yeah. The only way to exit is meriting the exit, preparing yourself now. Hi, Gretchen. Chuck, do you think STS people who do DMT get the same effect as an STO would? No. No. But I'm not saying one is good and one is bad. But yeah, the way the syntax manifests to you, how can you speak that? It's not form. I think that's why McKenna, I've gotten a small dose of it. My wife, she's amazing with DMT. She actually can talk to the balls, the balls, the dribbling balls that are in the space of DMT. Jenny can actually carry out a conversation with them. Now, I don't have that capability, but generally, Jenny is natural in that space, and I'm not. And so, her effect, what I'm getting to here is her effect in that world is different than mine. And I have no idea what hers is like. You can just kind of try and talk about it. But everyone is going to have a different view of it. And it really depends on where your heart is. Are you wanting to grow? And are you going to the space to expand? Or are you trying to go to that space to try and get something? Do you have motive? And are you seeking the fruits? The DMT space will reveal itself very differently to that person than they will to the person who is trying to grow and expand their mind. Hi, Linda. What's going on? It's good to see you. Question. I have heard that 5D is or might be a bigger matrix to trap us more so that we can't get out. Not according to the Cassiopaeans. Chuck, what is your opinion, please? Yeah, my opinion is that 5D is a place of contemplation and that you come back. And if you have graduated in your lifetimes as a soul to become formless and go to 4D, you do. And then you go live for however many millions of years as a 4D creature. And then eventually you learn all that there is to learn in 4D. I promise you there's even more to learn there than there is here. And so you will spend your life going to 5D until you graduate to 4D. And then you'll be in 4D, you'll continue to go to 5D, and eventually, if you're an STO, 5D, or 4D being, and you graduate, you go to 6th density. The STS individual can't go to 6th density because the STS individual requires vampirism. They require the eating of another's energy in order to exist, and that is a space of emptiness. You're always trying to fill it. And you can never fill a space of emptiness that you're trying to feed through vampiring other people's gifts, powers, money, whatever the case may be. And so there is a consciousness level that you haven't attained because you want to stay in that space of harm. You have to raise your consciousness to a level of empathy and compassion and so forth to realize that that's an empty life. It leads to an empty space. And some people, like Barry Soetoro and George Soros, they carry that idea because they like harming people, and they carry that idea all the way to their death. If they take it far enough, they'll crystallize into a demon. And then they'll be a demon for however many millions of years. And until their consciousness awakens to this higher sense of empathy, compassion, and love, they'll remain a demon. And eventually, if they stay in that space of stagnancy for long enough, they self-consume, because eventually they can't eat fast enough to satisfy the largeness of evil or the largeness of void that they are growing. Sorry, I shouldn't use void in that term. The largeness of capacity or space that they're growing by being a consuming form, a consuming 4D spirit. And eventually you become so large that you collapse on yourself. It's very much the idea of a black hole. It's the parallels between the Cassiopaean understanding and the way actual thermodynamics work out in this realm is pretty radical. It's pretty radical. And so from what I gather, if you're an STO, you eventually graduate out of 5th D to go to 6th. You stay there as long as you want. And then if you never graduate out of STS, you remain a 4D demon, and then eventually you self-collapse from your own evil and self-consumption. There it is. Hopefully that answered your question. We are doing awesome. I can't find where I can directly donate to someone's Zoom. May I just send it to your personal PayPal? No, there are, okay, Max, at my site, right at the membership menu pull down, there are donation levels, and it's really organized, because then that money is then held until someone wants a membership. So just go to the website, and under membership menu, you'll see where you can donate. In fact, if you just scroll to the bottom, it will show you, I want to donate a month. I want to donate 3 months. I want to donate 6 months, 9 months. And you can. And then all you, I think there's a place to put a note, if I'm not mistaken. You just let us know who you want to sponsor. Just give us their email. And then we'll apply your donation to their sponsorship. That's all there's to it. Here, I'm going to go off the comments here, local here for a minute. Clintrons, hello Clintrons. Chuck, question regarding reincarnation. If consciousness reincarnates, what happened to all of the people killed during the that's okay, hang on. Should we always have the same amount of people on planet? Okay, there is a count of souls that, this is a subject I tried to pursue and I couldn't get an answer. There is a count of souls called the transient passengers that compose the identity of the human race, society, however you want to put it. Those animating souls that fill the body, which is a container for the soul, right? There's a set number. There's a set number. And one of the ways they have kept the population on the planet is through war. So what you do is you allow a society to fill with more and more souls from the space that they're captured. And as they fill more and more in the society, there's more and more people, therefore there's more and more souls to harvest. And then you have a wipeout. So you have wars and stuff as they're growing. So you got a little bit of loose as things are growing as they go through wars. And then you'll have a massive wipeout like a World War I or a World War II or a cataclysm. A meteor hits the planet. And there's a huge wipeout. And all those souls all at once come out. It's a huge surge of power. It's like when the farmer harvests the grapes, they have this surge of grape juice. And they're going to make wine out of it. And so they've got to get all of that grape juice into the barrels and get that transfer going to capture all of that energy, all of that product that's in this harvest. And the souls are the same way. And we have had repeated cataclysm because these are harvests. You wipe out, decimate half a planet of its population, and you get this surge. Okay, now then what happens, Clintrons, is all of those souls go into the big holding tank, which is an energy bastion. It's like a battery of souls. And they can feed off of the power of those gathered souls in that sphere. And then as the world repopulates, the souls repopulate the bodies that are being born on the planet. And what we have been in have been cycles. That's why the whole thing that came down with the Cantex was so clear, is as it made clear, there were world wars going on even 10,000 years ago, or would be 13,000 years ago, before the Younger Dryas. War after war. These are loose harvests. Okay, so the thing is, here's the thing. As that net is removed, right, souls are allowed to leave if they want. But because there's such a small scope of people that are aware enough to know this, they're just coming back. And as our population grows on this planet, what begins to happen is these soul passengers begin to leave and continue on their journey. And the world's population adjusts as this occurs. You see? And so there's always a group, a soul passenger group that is reincarnating from a lack of awareness. Imagine how long it's going to take for that to work out. You see? And so the planet has changed now. The system that was in place has changed now. And the population on the planet is going to grow now. Now think of the effect that med beds are going to do. Nobody's going to be dying, right? People can be living 1,000 years, looking like they're 30, feeling like they're 20. Okay, that's coming. And so with that being the case, what happens then? The world is just getting more and more souls. In other words, more humanness is entering the planet. And this is what builds the beauty. This is what builds the society, is what builds the beauty when it's aligned to humane values. This is the future. This is what's coming. And we're going to use technology and advance and that kind of thing to expand the consciousness on this planet. Do you follow? And we are part and parcel to that because we are the inventors. We're the creators. We're the ones that bring that faculty to the table. And that's not something that AI can create. Creativity is not something that AI can do. We bring that. That's part of the gift of the soul. And that's why the creativity is one of the most powerful, powers on the planet. We got to wrap this up, guys. We've been going an hour and 45 minutes. So we'll go about 2 hours. Yeah, we'll go about 2 hours. So we're good. All right, 15 more minutes. Let's do this. I'm ready. I don't see any big questions you could put. So Chuck, buddy, what's up, Bruno? Let's say you're aware and want to go out of the matrix and you leave it. Where do you go? What do you do? What have you become? Okay, so if you do an out-of-body experience, it's often mixed up with the people that leave the body purposefully and the people that leave the body from death. These are two different experiences. So if you're a person that's leaving the body through choice, you're not leaving it because of a death. You're having a different out-of-body experience than the person who's ready for it. Okay, so obviously you're the one that's aware and wants to go out of the matrix. So what you do is when you astral travel, when you leave the body in a conscious state, you move into your soul's state, which is formless. So you have consciousness. You have consciousness, but it's a type of consciousness like you have when you're asleep. Now, think about this. People can build their what's the word? Skill set, I guess you could say, or acuity. People can build their skill set in that world, as you might know, Bruno, of sort of that halfway subconscious, halfway conscious. It's the same state as the one in DMT. You're both conscious and unconscious at the same time. And when that's the case, you're able to leave with your soul and you go anywhere. You go anywhere. You have no form anymore. You can go anywhere. What have you become? You've become a spirit. Right? So you have consciousness. Spirit is composed of consciousness, just like your body is composed of consciousness, right? So you can go anywhere. That's to answer your question. You can go anywhere. Right on. Give peace a chance, heck yeah. You got another question? You guys can post something up. Shan or Stacy, you guys can put a question. Hi, Bo. What's going on, buddy? What happened before, during, and after the so-called Dark Ages? After it certainly became STS and the divine feminine was attacked for more male-dominated society. Yes, that was when the Masons took over. when was that? In 1000 AD, something like that. I can't remember the dates now. I'd have to pull up the records. But okay. So what you had in the Middle Ages was a playing out of the corruption of the church that had taken over the world. And so after Christianity became law in 325, it took them about 1,000 years or so to get full diehard into the changes and how that would affect the society. And so when you got to the Middle Ages, I think Joseph Campbell said that 1250 was the height of the Middle Ages. You see, you've had about 1,000 years of total darkness, where the church, a satanic institution, has moved in, called the Roman Catholic Church, and it has taken over the society. It has stopped all development. Look what they did to Copernicus. Look what they did to Galileo, right? It stops all technical development. It has taken all the money. It's taken all the money. It's taken all the children. It has a children's supply that it demands, right? And you have a society called religion that is built for 1,000 years within this satanic ethos, the Catholic Church. And so by the time the height of the Middle Ages in 1250 rolled around, right? When was the Reformation? Shortly thereafter, because the society had gotten so dark and the teachings had become so corrupt that there had to be a reformation in order to help release society from the pit of real darkness that they were in. You had to have a wider landscape. And so people migrated naturally into that grace idea, into that Reformation Protestant idea. That was what, 1450, 1500, right around in there. And then you see the development of the church even further into an agency, right, that is under Protestantism, but it's still capturing people's minds. You've only opened your world a little bit because you're still locked in a belief. You're still anti-faith at that point. So Protestantism was, yes, an initial step of awakening. Just like a person right now finds out, oh, the medical system is against me. That's a moment of awakening. So Protestantism was the same thing, trying to get out of the Middle Ages, the real darkness and blackness that was the Middle Ages. But now you can see now, here we are 500 years later after the Reformation or so. And what is happening? We have another Reformation. It's called the Great Awakening. And now it's expanding past the idea of religion. It went from the ideas of the Catholic Church, then to the ideas of a wider religion. And now we're moving into the idea of no religion. No need for that. Because our concepts, our technology, our consciousness has expanded from those ages. So what you saw, Bo, before, during, and after the Dark Ages was after the church formed Christianity in 325, 1,000 years of abyssal darkness, as Joseph Campbell calls it, 1,000 years of abyssal darkness. And then you have the climax of that in 1250 with the building of the cathedrals. And if they built the cathedrals then, or that became a technology that we walked into, whatever the case may be, that was an echelon that was accessing either the ionosphere and free energy at that time, I don't know, or it was this idea of opening the mind when you walked into the cathedral. You were walking into this space of sanctity, resonance. And so you generate music in there, and you generate frequency in there that is harmonious to the human mind, and beautiful music like the work of Bach and organ and everything, right? You can see how that's the next level of worship. That's the next level that Christianity, that Protestantism, that this whole idea of monotheism is graduating into. That's what you're seeing. And so the capture remained, though, even though people thought that they were free with the Reformation and Protestantism, this idea of grace, they're still locked in the belief. They're still locked in the system. They're still locked in the religion, and there's no freedom there because it's not free thought. It's a controlled thought. It's a set thought, but it's not free thought. And we came here to be free. We didn't came here to be imprisoned. Yeah. Okay, we only got time for about two more left. Chuck, could all of us awakened nature creatures be old Atlantean souls that have come back to this specific time for the Great Awakening? I 100% believe that is very possible, Jay. And I do think that there is something to these psychic centers that they talk about with the Cassiopaeans, because every day I meet people who clearly have not had their psychic centers turned on. And so, like I didn't finish that story earlier, but what I was saying was earlier with people who wouldn't awaken and still got the COVID shot. I stood outside the grocery store and I watched all these people that were my friends that told me for 5 years how natural they were and how they hated Big Pharma, completely give away their sovereignty to Big Pharma and completely abandon the properties and principles of nature for Big Pharma. Do you see? There have to be individuals in that group which see past what that group is doing to kill itself. That's how I saw myself in that point, because I knew what they were doing was harming them. I knew it. And I knew the biology, and I knew about the cytokine storms. I knew about all the tech that was behind it that they hadn't researched. And so they were oblivious to what those things were actually doing to people. And I was a rare seed in this society that I'm in. And so all of this is proving to me that we are a rare breed, Jay. And that it very well may be we might be part of a faction or group towards the end of Atlantis that saw what was coming, that was a part of this whole mind tech. And here we are. We've reincarnated as folks. And I think that nature creature itself is an organism that attracts people like that. Because I attract people that are tolerant. Because people that are intolerant can't stand me. People that are intolerant can't stand an iconoclast. And so I naturally attract people that are tolerant, that want to learn, that are completely willing to walk away from any belief system and not have a problem with it. I mean, a true rogue, someone who can leave everything in their life in 30 seconds and never look back. These are the types that like nature creature, the ones that are unattached. And when you've got people that are highly attached, you see, they don't stick around in nature creature. They can't stand it. Okay. And so to me, Jay, that's part of that psychic center awakening up. Good. Finally, the last question of the night. Why are you so certain with Cassiopaean theory? I'm certain with it in the sense of that it has fit the Buddhist theory that or philosophy that we studied in Buddhism. I'm sincere about it because of the way the Rosicrucianism fits right into the theory. I'm serious about it because ancient man and the Canaanites and the ideas of mythology and the nature world fit right into it. I like it because it fits into the timeline of cataclysms that have occurred on this planet, and it fits the flooding. It fits the different phases that we actually see in the ground and see in our history. The Cassiopaeans line up with all of that. It also fits very well with the spiritual building and growing and becoming idea. This idea that the universe is composed of consciousness and that these consciousnesses are in layers and you can tune into specific layers. This all fits right into the Cassiopaean theory, which fits right into the Buddhist theory of the chakras, which tie right into the 7 layers of consciousness. So that's why I like it. It fits so well. Find something about it that doesn't fit well. Honestly, tell me something about, I'm not being smart like that. I'm saying genuinely, bring in something that the Cassiopaeans claim that is just completely false. Like, okay, we know that that is a total fallacy. And if you can bring something like that, I'll be happy to consider it. But until then, I mean, it's a legitimate theory, in my opinion, because it fits so well with what we're doing. Okay, cool. Yeah, it is uncanny. All right, enough of the banners. We'll stop the banners now. I'll begin to close our time off. I really appreciate you guys being here and participating in what we're doing. I'll go ahead and play the outro, that good music that you guys like so much. And I'll play the outro so that you guys can continue talking. Yeah, they're not. You're right, Real. Shan, you're correct. You're correct. You're correct. The Freemasons would be a lesser version or an older version. Freemasonry, in my opinion, is harkening back to alchemy, which predates the organizing of the Luciferians in 1776 is when they became officially organized. Now, the KM is another matter entirely. Yeah. Here we are. Appreciate you too, Ghost. All right, so we'll wrap it up. Sorry. So that I'll play the postlude, which is that great music that you guys liked. I'll play that so you guys can continue chatting with each other if you want to in chat. And I will look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday. Our next show is Saturday at 5 o'clock Pacific time. And I have an awesome lecture on Zen. I actually have one of the slides I was going to show you guys today, and I'm glad I thought of it. Here's one of the slides. Dude, I'm so excited because on Saturday we're gonna be talking art. And I'm gonna actually use some of the few classes I took in college on art. I'll actually be able to utilize, as well as my photography class with Mr. John Jenberg, who taught me everything about photography. And we're going to take some of those things that I learned in high school and early college, and we're going to apply that to Zen, because the final chapter of Zen is all about Zen art. So, dude, we get to talk art together. How righteous is that? We get to talk art together on Saturday. I mean, what is more awesome than kicking back and looking at art together and talking about it? Fantastic, yeah? So that's what's coming Saturday. I got a really sultry intro, which is great, which goes great with the whole idea of art and, you know, the whole emotional side of that world. And then I've got a killer McKenna beginning for our look at the Great Awakening in 2 weeks. So enough said. Love you guys. I will see you guys soon. Thanks for being here. Here is the outro. Let's see here. Closer. Add to state.